Welcome to Binah Says, a podcast created to reveal the wisdom within everyone.
And I walked in with my big ego and all the other stuff I had at the time. And she said, "Hi, what's your name?" I said, "I'm Jon Gershman." Growing up, I always used to call myself spiritual. I had no clue what that actually meant. I was going through it. I was trying to navigate the world through relationships I was in, the business partnerships I was in. The greatest lesson I've learned from my mom, unequivocally, is unconditional love. The Creator obviously had a bigger plan, far beyond my limited way of seeing or letting go of that need to control. Not only am I not in control, but I'm nothing without the Creator. And also at the same time knowing that without the Creator, we probably wouldn't last as a couple.
I like to set an intention before we start, and I always say Karen's daily prayer, so I'll share it with us now. Master of the world, I ask of you today, may my thoughts be your thoughts. May my eyes see what you see. May my tongue speak words you want me to say. Open my heart to love all people as you love them. May my hands be hands that give more than they take. May my body be a vessel and a tool to accomplish the mission for which I came to this world to accomplish. In all of my interactions today, let not my thoughts, words, or energy be shared, but only your light, because only from your light can miracles and wonders be achieved. Only through your light. I'm forgetting the last line.
Make it up.
Only through your light may we help others connect to the Creator.
Beautiful.
Amen.
Amen. Were those your own words in the end, or were
Yeah,
those
those are
the words from Karen?
No, those are mine. Okay, so I realized as I was thinking, about what I wanted to talk about, I had this same kind of thought process with Josh, in that I feel like we have this connection that started off so deep and so profound. Like we speak on such a soul level that we don't know, I feel like I don't know enough about Jon Gershman in the material world and what that looks like. So will you start us off by give us a little spiel as to who is Jon Gershman today?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for having me. I know that this is a relatively new endeavor for you. It's also a new endeavor for me. I think it's my first podcast, as I'm saying to you. I'm so flattered that you asked me to be a part of it. That's first of all. Second of all, I just want to say also that you just so beautifully read something from Karen. I don't know if you know, but I was and still remain very close to Karen. And as you were reading that, I closed my eyes and I felt Karen was here with such a big smile, just so happy that you and I are together. So I felt Karen very, very much when you were reading that. And it sort of awakened in me the reminder that Karen's always here, right? And that it's not really you and I speaking, right? I try to meditate that the Creator speaks through us, right? And I know oftentimes I bring Karen into that conversation as well. So I feel that Karen's here and very happy that you and I are together.
You're making me cry off the bat, John.
It's good. It's a good start.
Starting with tears.
It's a strong start.
Yeah.
So, Jon Gershman in the material world. Where can I start, right? So, maybe fast forward how we got connected, right? Which I think is pretty cool, is through obviously the Kabbalah Center, right? And so I discovered Kabbalah about 15 years ago in New York. I was going through it, right? I was trying to navigate the world through relationships I was in, the business partnerships I was in, right? And just a lot of stuff felt for me at the time like confusing, number one. Number two, like there's got to be more, right? And I was always seeking like, what else is there, right? Like what are the answers to this whole thing that I'm trying to navigate? And someone who's very dear to me, I call her like a surrogate grandma. Her name is Eileen Michelle. I hope that she sees this. And Eileen, from the time I was very young, my sister and I were very young, Eileen basically like adopted my sister and I as like another grandma. And from a very young age, shared with us, although we didn't realize at the time, the wisdom of Kabbalah, right? To us, it was just like learning stuff as kids, but it just so happens that it was Kabbalistic wisdom that Eileen had been learning through her own studies and through her own rabbi for about 50 years, right? And so Eileen said to me as I was living in New York City and navigating all these things, I really think you would enjoy an introductory lecture that they give at this place called the Kabbalah Center. I said, I don't know what Kabbalah is, but if you're telling me to go, I'm in. And I humbly went to the Kabbalah Center, and you asked, who is Jon Gershman? Andrea, my wife, loves to tell the story that I walked into my first introductory lecture 15 years ago. It was called The Best Kept Secret. And David Guillen was giving the lecture that night. And I walked into this place, the Kabbalah Center, not knowing anything other than Eileen suggested I go. And the elevator doors opened on I believe it was the third floor of the center in New York. And my now wife, Andrea, was checking people into the class that night. And I walked in with my big ego and all the other stuff I had at the time. And she said, hi, what's your name? I said, I'm Jon Gershman. And she loves to tell them, I'm Jon Gershman, right? And I tell the story, she checked me in and checked me out, right? And the way she tells the story, she knew at that moment, like, there was something between us. And she didn't know what she knew, but she felt very strongly that there was a connection. And here we are, 15 years later, married, and 2 beautiful children. So I share that story because when you said Jon Gershman, like, you don't often say your name like that, right? Mm-hmm. But Andrea loves to tell the story about that Jon Gershman 15 years ago and sort of how far I've come or we've come together all these years later. So wow. That's a little bit about the Jon Gershman story.
What were you doing at the time in New York? Were you born there?
I was born in New York. I spent my most of my life, with the exception of college, living in New York. So first Long Island as a kid, and then we moved to Connecticut, and then my parents divorced. My dad moved to Westchester, so my sister and I eventually moved in with my dad in Westchester. I went to school in Arizona, went to University of Arizona, and then graduated, and I moved home for a couple of years. I worked in commercial real estate.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I worked in commercial real estate for about 5-6 years, and then moved into Manhattan. And I lived in Manhattan for about 13 years. I lived in the city. Kind of bounced around from neighborhood to neighborhood, but loved living in the city. And then met Andrea at the Kabbalah Center, and then we moved out to LA.
In that time of your life, what are 3 words you would use to describe yourself before Kabbalah?
Egotistical, curious, and unfulfilled.
Those are deep words.
Yeah.
Wow. And when did Eileen become part of your movie as a mother figure for you?
Yeah, so when my parents were, when we were, my sister Amy and I were young, and when my parents first separated, it's kind of a beautiful story. My dad actually, Eileen owned an art gallery in New York on Long Island called Owl 57. And my father, when my parents first got married, my father was making a bunch of money at a relatively young age and gets married and walks into this art gallery. And Eileen says to this, handsome young what seemed to be successful man. I said, how can I help you? He said, I just got married and I want to buy my wife a painting. She said, wow, I love that. It's so beautiful. And there's no budget. I'm going to send her in here and she can pick whatever she wants. And Eileen loves to tell that story, right? That's when Eileen sort of fell in love with my dad, right? Here's this young guy wanted to buy his new bride a painting, anything of her choice, and money was no object. And that was how they started their relationship, right? And so only a few years after, right, when they were in the midst of separating, my dad turned to Eileen and said, listen, I have the kids, for example, this weekend, and I'm kind of going to go off and do my thing, and I need someone to watch the kids. And so my dad would drop us off with Eileen, and just know that we were in good hands. And so really, Eileen and her husband Aaron were super influential people in our lives from a very young age that nurtured us. I mean, that doesn't even do it justice, but that nurtured us and loved us and cared for us as though we were their own grandkids. And to this day, continue to play a very, very important part in our lives.
Wow.
So that's a little bit of the story of Eileen and Aaron.
How old were you at the time when your parents separated?
I was young. I was probably 6 or 7.
Oh, wow.
6 or 7. My sister was 4 or 5.
Do you remember what that time was like experiencing your parents separating?
It was rough. It was really rough. My mom, may she rest in peace, was an alcoholic and battled alcoholism. Certainly from the time my sister and I were very young, right? Since we were very young. And so that's actually why Eileen and Aaron became sort of like this outlet, right? Like my dad needed help caring for us because my mom oftentimes was not available, just wasn't, in a position to really care for us, right? Her drinking was pretty bad when we were young. And so that's why, my dad, saw Eileen as like this trusted, like, I know you'll take care of my kids, I just need a minute, right?
Wow.
And so, so they were a very, very big part of our lives from a very young age.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did that start before your parents had met, or?
The drinking?
Yeah.
It did. And my dad actually talks about how he recognized that there was an issue, that my mom had a problem, but didn't want to believe it. Didn't want to believe that it was a problem, and further thought that he could fix it because he was a fixer, right? Like my dad's, he's a powerful guy, and is powerful in business, and so I can fix this, right? Like I'll make her okay. I'll make it okay, and still now to this day, right, recognizes like I saw the writing on the wall. I saw that there was an issue, and convinced myself that I could fix it or I could make it okay. So yeah, he did see that there was an issue. And whether he chose not to believe it fully or again that he could make it right, that's obviously part of his movie. And I've thought about that throughout my life, right? Knowing that, well, had he not made that decision, or had he not felt that he could fix it, or my mom's drinking was solvable by someone other than herself, we wouldn't be here, right? So I'm grateful that I'm grateful he made that decision, despite how hard it has been or was for him, and certainly for me and my sister growing up.
Wow. What would you say is the greatest lesson you've learned from your mom?
The greatest lesson I've learned from my mom, unequivocally, is unconditional love. Unconditional love. I resented my mom the better part of my life, certainly the better part of our life together as her son. And I too, growing up, thought that I could fix my mom somehow, right? Or that my sister and I would be enough to make my mom want to get well or stop drinking. And decided, with the help of Andrea, my wife, a few years before my mom's passing, right, to really learn to love my mom unconditionally, despite her issues, despite her drinking, despite, the way she wasn't really capable of giving to us as a mother fully, and to go extra, right, to go all in on being unconditional and loving her regardless. And I was able to, through her passing, right, to really experience this feeling of unconditional love and continue to grow that feeling. And I've told many people I feel more closely connected to my mom now in her passing than I did ever when she was alive.
Wow.
Which I think is pretty remarkable.
How did she pass, if you don't mind sharing?
It's kind of a wild story. She went in for surgery. She went in for a procedure. Truth be told, I think it was something with her back or her shoulder, something. Went in for what was supposed to be just a pretty simple procedure. And my uncle picked her up from the hospital, brought her home to rest and recover. And she passed that night.
In her sleep?
It wasn't clear. We found out the next day that she had passed. And not long after she passed, my sister and I actually had a session with a friend of mine, who's a psychic, a very powerful, renowned psychic, because we needed some
answers,
some clarity that is there a malpractice suit potentially? Like, we just didn't know, right? Just felt like, what just happened? And so we met with a psychic who, my mom came through and said, it wasn't connected to the surgery, right? Basically, the way it was channeled was almost had an aneurysm, right? And it was very sudden, and there was no suffering, and it was pretty instantaneous, and that there was no malpractice involved. It was just, this is how it was meant to play out.
Wow.
And I think that, my sister and I left that conversation with this psychic saying, that's all we need to know. She didn't suffer. It wasn't connected to what seemingly could have been very connected, right, to the surgery she had.
Yeah.
And that she didn't suffer, and that she was in a better place.
Wow.
And she was all around and everywhere and with us always.
And this was the time around the birth of your son, right?
Yeah, that's another wild story that I shared with you.
You shared with me that she had the opportunity to meet him.
Yeah.
Because, well, go ahead and share.
Yeah. It's this is a pretty remarkable story. So, our son Benjamin was born December of 2018.
7 years ago, almost to the day.
Yeah, celebrated his birthday last week. Yesterday, we had his party.
It was yesterday.
So, wow. His bris in the Gregorian calendar is tomorrow.
Wow.
So my mom met him basically tomorrow.
7 years ago.
7 years ago. Wow. So, wow.
What does that bring up for you?
I feel my mom's presence here now. Very strongly. Sort of as a reminder, like, I told you I'm here. Told you I'll be there always. To connect those dots, wow. You connected those dots just now. So that's a pretty beautiful story. So when Benjamin was born, in December, we were living in LA, and we needed to plan his bris. And it was obviously winter, right? And Michael Berg, who we very much wanted to be the sendak, who we wanted to do the ceremony, was in New York. And we spoke about it, and I said, I think we should just do it here in LA, right? We're here, the weather's nice, he's 2 days old, right? Do we really have to get on a plane with our family and a newborn and schlep to New York in the freezing cold just to have the bris in New York with Michael Berg? Karen Berg was actually also in New York. And I voted, I'm good in LA. I think we should stay in LA, right? I got the caterer ready to go, right? And Andrea, in her infinite wisdom, said, absolutely not. It's not even up for discussion. We're going to New York, and Michael Berg will be the sendak. Let's not even, discussion's over.
Wow.
So reluctantly, I started making arrangements in New York and started booking flights and started switching the caterer and planning this event. But all the while, I was kind of like hemming and hawing, right? Like, do we really have to go to New York? Is this really necessary? Do we really need to do this? And I didn't understand it at the time, right? And I understood the blessing of Michael Berg, but at the same time, right, I was willing to sacrifice that at the time to stay in my comfort in LA. And I called my mom and said, Mom, I got good news, right? You don't have to come to LA. And my mom hadn't been on a plane in years. Like, my mom, I don't know that she was looking forward to coming anyway. She probably wouldn't have come. And so we decided to do it in New York, started to make arrangements, and my mom said, great, I'll be there. Now I can be there with you. But I won't come to the ceremony. I can't deal with that, right? It's too much for me, the blood and the whatever. But I'll see you after. So we made arrangements after the ceremony that my mom was going to meet us in our hotel, which was right next to the Kabbalah Center. We would spend some time with my mom, and then we would fly back to LA. We were in and out, like in 24 hours.
Poor Benny,
He's a trooper.
He's a strong one.
So we fly to New York. Karen's there. Another beautiful point to the story is that, during a bris, it's customary that people who desire getting pregnant will hold the child. So it's almost like they'll pass the child from husband to wife, it's like a procession, and then back to the father, who will bring the child to the rabbi.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And we've watched the video many times, and it turns out that everyone that held Benny, and Karen Berg also held Benny first, everyone that held Benny has had a boy.
Wow.
Since
Karen? No.
Well, no, not Karen, but Karen, I think, was very much the channel for...
Like, is there a child?
The blessing for all of that. So that's another beautiful miracle, right? And so after the bris, sure enough, we went back to the hotel and spent this amazing quality time with my mom before heading back to the airport to leave. And yes, so my mom passed away about a month or so after Benny's bris. And only, I think, a couple of years after her passing did I realize that had Benny and Andrea, and obviously through the help of the Creator, they only brought us to New York so that my mom could meet my son before she passed. Wow. So that's the story.
I love that. I love how Kabbalah gives you that understanding that you might not know, you might not have all the answers or why you're being led in a certain direction, but that it's all for the best. And when you look back, you smile because you realize that's exactly how it was always meant to happen, and you couldn't have planned it better yourself.
Amen.
It's so beautiful.
I certainly would have planned it that way, like I said. Yeah.
So
that was a valuable lesson in letting go, and in to your point, connecting the dots, right? Later, saying, wow, the Creator obviously had a bigger plan, far beyond my limited way of seeing. Or
how has your relationship with the Creator changed from your early days studying at the center to now, 15 years later?
I would say just the fact that I now have any relationship to the Creator, right? I mean, growing up, I always used to call myself spiritual. I used to, oh, I'm spiritual. I had no clue what that actually meant. I just somehow, some way it resonated with me that word, spiritual. Because I knew I wasn't religious. But I always felt like there was something bigger than me, something beyond me that was orchestrating things. And a lot of that, again, comes from Eileen and her divine wisdom and guidance and love.
Was there faith in your home?
Not really. Not really.
No customs or
There were
traditions?
customs, right? Like, what's also interesting is my mom comes from a very Catholic background, right? My grandfather on my mom's side was a Eucharistic minister, okay? My grandfather on my dad's side was was a Kohen, right? Was like of this, this holy lineage on the Jewish side, right? So I come from this Kohen side from my dad's side, this minister, Eucharistic Catholic minister on my mom's side, and like this confusion. And kids would ask me growing up, like, kids say, "What are you?" Right? Like, what meaning? Like, what religion are you? What background are you? And I used to tell people, I'm half and half, like the creamer for your coffee. So I used to tell people,
I love that. That's a very Jon.
Yeah, I'm half and half, like the creamer for your coffee.
That's a very Jon Gershman response.
That was me. So I was always curious. I always felt like there was something beyond, but I certainly couldn't articulate that. And to answer your question, right, how is my relationship strengthened? I think to go from not really having I felt that there was a God. I felt like there was a creator, but I certainly couldn't put into any type of words what that meant. And now I certainly feel the creator's presence. I speak to the creator now, right? I feel a relationship to the creator. I feel right? I feel like, I feel deeply connected to the creator.
And you do many of the rituals now, right? Like you observe Shabbat in some sense, and the holidays.
Yeah.
We're together on the big ones.
Yeah. As a kid, back to your question, we used to, it's another funny story. I used to go to church. My sister and I would go to church with my mom on Christmas and Easter, right? We'd go to temple with my father on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And it was more tradition than anything. Like, it's just what you do. You go to church and you go to temple on these high holidays, but otherwise there was no practice. And so I remember as a kid, I had a new suit, right, that my mom bought me for church with a clip-on tie. And I remember, my dad wouldn't come to church. It was my mom, my sister, and me. We go to church and we're sitting there, and my mom would go up and get communion. And I'd be hungry, like, we didn't eat yet. And my mom would go up and I'd say, "What are you doing?" "I'm going to go get this cracker." And I'd say, "I want a cracker." She's like, you didn't get your communion, so you can't come get a cracker. And then the priest would come with the holy water, and he would spray the holy water on everybody. And I remember the priest coming by with the holy water, and he sprinkles the holy water on my new suit. I'm like, "Mom, what's the deal? Like, it's my new suit. It's gonna ruin my suit." And my mom was like, "Shh, it's the holy water." I'm like, "I don't care. It's my new suit." So I remember that story from a very young age, right? Having no idea, but I always remembered not feeling so connected to that side, much more connected to the Jewish side, much more connected to my father's side. I just felt much more at home when I would go to synagogue with my dad. But again, it was much more about the tradition of going than it was about what's actually happening here, right? Why are we here? And those were the answers as a kid I didn't have. So like, you go because it's Yom Kippur, but like, why are we going? What are we really doing here? And I think that's what, right? That's what, fascinated me as I started to learn through Kabbalah, right? Like, oh, this is why we do this. This is why we go.
Yeah.
Right?
I remember having those aha moments of why are we doing all the things we're doing? And it made everything so much more meaningful. And I remember my first Yom Kippur with the center. Every year I loathe Yom Kippur. And it's like the one day of the year that, is dreadful. And all I had to know for my first Yom Kippur from Kabbalah was that we were starving the ego on this day. I didn't have to know anything else, but just that one sentence made it the most transformative Yom Kippur for me.
So powerful.
And what usually is a day where I'm in agony, I have no energy, I'm lethargic, I have a headache, I'm constantly thinking about food. When's the food coming? Was a day where I was just connected. I think I had the most energy of any day on Yom Kippur. I am singing, dancing, can walk up and down. No, it completely changed everything for me. And then my second Yom Kippur, my most recent one, which was in New York, it just keeps leveling up.
Yeah.
Every time you learn something new about the connection and why we're doing this, and each prayer is a meal for the soul, you can't do it any other way.
What about I love that. Have you had any really profound Passover?
I have not had Passover yet. The Passover I went to, I was in Austin, Texas with Parker, and we went to a small study group's home, but it was just a mess of a Seder.
Wow.
So hopefully this year we'll do it a little differently.
Can I share with you a story about my first Passover with the center?
Please.
So a big aspect to Passover, right, or the preparation for Passover, is the Passover cleaning. Right? We've heard about that.
Yeah.
Right, getting rid of the chametz, right, the unleavened, right, the bread. Why? Because the bread, as we know from the stories and the teachings, right, represents our ego. Right, the leavening, right, the inflation of the bread represents the inflation of our ego. And so a lot of the preparation leading up to Passover is the cleaning, searching for the chametz, searching for the leavened bread, which is a direct correlation to searching for those parts of our ego that we want to cleanse for the year to come. So I hear all about this cleaning for Passover. My first Passover, in the center in New York. So they say there's this big opportunity. We're going to clean the Kabbalah Center on Sunday. Anybody who wants to come and clean our spiritual home, come to the center on Sunday and come and clean. So I'm new to the center. I'm all in on everything that they're selling. I'm like, I'm in, right? Like, I want to come clean. And I'm telling my friends, listen, I got to go clean the Kabbalah Center. They're like, what are you talking about, right? They think I'm completely off the deep end. So I go on this Sunday, I'm brand new in the center, and I say, I'm going to go clean the Kabbalah Center. So I show up at the center, and I walk in, and they look at me, and they're directing people. You go upstairs, you go to the library, you go to the bookstore. Oh, you? To the kitchen. So I'm like, okay. So I go to the kitchen, and I later come to find that the kitchen is like the grimiest, dirtiest place, obviously. There's a commercial kitchen. It's where the most chametz is. So that's where they send the people with the biggest ego. So I walk into the kitchen, I'm here to serve, and this guy Shlomi Levy, who's become a dear friend, Shlomi is there ready to greet me and says, oh, of course they send you to the kitchen. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Right? First of all, who the fuck are you? And what's the implication here, right? Like, what's the job? So he says, okay, you see that? He points to the hood of the oven, the grimiest of the grimy. He said, you're going to clean that. I said, okay, let's go. So I get on a step stool and they give me the hood of the oven, of this commercial oven. And that's my job, is to scrub the oven until it's spotless. So I probably start at like 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. Sabrina, I don't get off this step ladder until it must have been 7 o'clock that night. And I'm sweating and I'm crying and I'm meditating because Eitan and other teachers are coming in and saying, listen, what we're actually giving us consciousness, right? Like what we're actually doing here is searching for and scrubbing to like for all those parts of us that we no longer want. We don't want to take into this coming year. We want to be completely cleansed of any of the schmutz, the ego, right, that holds us back from our perfected self. So as I'm getting this consciousness and I'm scrubbing the hood of this oven and I'm meditating, like, show me all these areas of my life that are disgusting, right? That no longer serve me. And I'm scrubbing and I'm meditating and I'm spraying and I'm sweating and I'll never forget. I leave and I don't leave until you can eat off the hood of this oven. I mean, it's spotless. I can see my reflection. And I remember walking outside of the Kabbalah Center, again, it's probably 7:30 at night, with more energy than I ever felt in my entire life. I've done plenty of drugs. I've done plenty of stuff that could get your energy going. I never had more energy in my entire life than this night after scrubbing the hood of that oven. And I just remember the feeling when I walked outside. I wanted to tell everybody I knew, I don't know what's going on here, but you got to come experience this.
Wow.
Because I didn't want to keep it to myself. Like what I just experienced, it was a visceral feeling, and I said, everybody needs to experience this. So I'll never forget that experience. I'll never forget my first Passover cleaning. I've experienced so many other miracles from Passover cleanings from years, since. And I'll always have this story with my friend Shlomi. So
That's amazing.
yeah. So that's my first Passover cleaning story.
That's hilarious. That's a good one. I love it. Wow. What would you say is something challenging that the wisdom has helped you overcome or been able to reveal light in your life?
I think my need to control. I'm a Scorpio. I'm a Scorpio moon, right? You tell that to most people who understand a little bit about astrology, and they're like, oh, good luck with that, right? And a big aspect to that Scorpio is control. And so for me, letting go of that need to control and really surrendering to the Creator, who sends me opportunities constantly in people and in situations, to let go of that need to control is constant work. But I would say it's that's been really consistent, right? Is letting go of that control and coming to the realization that I am, I not only am I not in control, but I'm nothing without the Creator.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not easy work.
It's not. Yeah, I have moments myself where, you want to be in control, but then you realize, the end result wouldn't be as great if you were in control, because we are so limited in what we could desire for ourselves and what we could imagine or dream of, that you always want to be connecting back to that source.
Totally.
That created everything. Yeah, recently, I always ask the Creator, may my desires be your desires, and show me what the desires of my soul are. This year, I'm listening more to the screams of my soul. Before, I would kind of quiet them and say, nah, that's not possible, or that would be too much work, too much energy. But through this studying and opening myself to the wisdom, I have so much more desire and energy to reveal the Creator's light in this world through my unique channel, vessel, whatever you choose to call it, through this podcast. Yeah, so I'll receive these messages, and some thoughts will come to me, and I'll hear Satan say that could never be possible, and then days later, something happens in the physical world where a door opens, or even like a small little opening occurs that directly relates to that thought that I had that was like a limitless thought. And it reminds you, like, oh, this is all possible if you believe in what the Creator can do for you.
Do you know that? Have you ever heard the saying? It's in the Zohar, and I won't directly quote, but it's open for me, create for me the opening the size of the eye of a needle.
Yeah.
And I will rain down blessings.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think it's like open the supernal gates and. Yeah.
No, but that's all it takes, right? It's like, just Serena, just create a tiny little opening, just a tiny opening for me, and I'll rain down blessings on you.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important to just know, like, I don't have to. There's another saying. I think I think it's Karen. I've heard it many times, but Karen used to say that this one guy, he's pushing this huge boulder. It's like, yeah, the Creator told me to push the rock. And he's pushing, and the rock's not moving. He calls out to the Creator and says, I'm pushing it. It's not going anywhere. And he's getting frustrated. And the Creator says, I didn't tell you to move it. I just told you to push it. I'll move it. Mm. We just have to make the effort, but we have to know that it's the Creator doing all of it. It's just a little effort that we need to make. It's a little opening we need to create.
That's right.
You know?
On the business side of things and your career, have you used these tools, this wisdom in any way?
All day, every day.
How do you do that?
That's, one of the, I guess, I'm blessed with so many opportunities day in, day out, right? To utilize the wisdom and the tools that I thankfully now have in my business, right? I think that without this wisdom, I would be completely lost in business, to be honest. I think that my ego would have continued to just take over, right? And to think that I can do everything better and smarter and faster and all the things. And I've been really humbled through my relationship to the Creator, knowing that, hey, your role right now is to serve and to not be in control, to allow other people to be in control, right? To allow other people to run the show. And your job, much like my job with the Creator, is just to serve, right? To serve people that are, in positions of power or whatever. And I've experienced that in business. I continue to experience it, right? Is to realize we all have, I was speaking about this just earlier today. We all have our role. We all have our lane, right? And sometimes our lane is to just serve. And so, yeah, I'm constantly applying this wisdom to business, and it's had a fascinating effect on my business, on my career, on the way that I approach business, right, and success. Mm-hmm. Also recognizing, which is hard, that without the Creator, I'm nothing. I would have none of this success without the Creator, right? That I'm just a vessel, and I'm just here to channel the Creator's light and energy into whatever it is that is in front of me. So that's been really, having this wisdom in my business has been really, really powerful. I don't know what I would do without it, honestly.
How has it changed your relationship as a father and as a husband?
Again, Andrea and I say all the time that with the light of the Creator as the bedrock in our relationship, right, we can do anything. And also at the same time knowing that without the Creator, we probably wouldn't last as a couple, right? And to have that level of vulnerability with one another, to know that like we need the Creator in our relationship, and in our relationship with our children, for example, is also really powerful, right? To know that like if you forget that, God forbid, for even a second, right, you're in trouble. So, and with my kids, I think one of the beautiful things that we continue to experience, right, is we bring the Creator, we bring Hashem into our relationship with our kids, right? Constantly speaking about with the help of Hashem, with the help of the Creator, right? Constantly showing our kids that without the Creator, right, like none of this is possible. And I feel so, one of the greatest blessings in my life is being able to share this wisdom with our kids, right? And to see my kids really, you know, just when they speak about the Creator, when they speak about the light, when they speak about Hashem, it warms my heart so much and brings me so much joy because I didn't really have it as a kid, right? So to now have that with my own children is very special.
I love that. You mentioned being, acting always from a place now of serving others. And I feel that from you because every time I come over, it's always like, Jon made a new friend, right? And you're constantly sharing this wisdom. You're constantly just being yourself, which is just this natural state of revealing light. And it brings people together. And I've had many beautiful Shabbats at your house, and it's truly miraculous to see. So thank you for being the way you are.
Thank you for coming and sharing these beautiful times with us, right? And you bring such a light and an energy and a love to our home all the time, which is why we want to have you all the time.
Like attracts like. What can we say?
Like. Game attracts game. Game knows game.
Amazing. Amazing. Okay, rapid fire. What brings you joy?
My family.
Describe your perfect day.
Waking up with my whole family in my big comfy bed and scratching the kids and tickling the kids and kissing my wife and starting with a big family snuggle, we call it, is the perfect start to my morning. Ideally followed by sauna, cold plunge, pool, in that order.
Then nothing else has to happen if the day starts like that to be perfect.
That's the best start to my day.
I love it. What's your favorite book, movie, and song?
That's a tough one. Book. The Zohar is my favorite book, for sure. I don't know why that took me so long.
I asked Sharif this exact question, and he said the Zohar.
That's for sure. That shouldn't have taken as long as it did. That means I need to read the Zohar.
Okay, I'll leave it like that. I like this.
What's the next one?
Movie.
Ooh. Movie, I got a couple. I think the first one that comes to mind is A River Runs Through It. Have you seen it?
I have not. I haven't even heard of it.
You need to see it. A River Runs Through It.
Okay, don't tell me more.
Maybe we'll watch it together next time you come over.
Yeah.
In fact, let's make a note of that.
And song.
Song. I mean, I got a lot. I love music, and there's so many artists I love. I would probably say, right now in this moment, as you're asking me, the Lionel Richie song that Andrew and I danced to at our wedding.
How does it go?
You want me to sing it?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Girl, tell me only this. There's no other love like your love, and I want you by my side. All right, I'm gonna stop there.
What's the chorus?
I don't know if that part's gonna get cut out, but
I don't think it can get cut out now. I think it's gold. It's gonna be.
Sorry.
It's gonna be the opening of the podcast.
Andrew will be so embarrassed.
What do you believe is your greatest gift?
My ability to connect with people on a deep level.
I would agree. And lastly, what is your favorite thing about Andrea?
Wow, the final question.
That's the final question. Off the cuff. I didn't have it written down.
What is my favorite thing about Andrea? My favorite thing about Andrea is the way that she loves me.
Unconditionally?
Everything. The way that my wife loves me is like nothing I've ever experienced. And I wish that everybody in this lifetime is able to experience the love that I feel from my wife every single day.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, Jon, thank you for sharing your wisdom, your understanding of the world, and your light with us on the Binah Says podcast. I love you very much.
I love you very much, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Binah Says.